And welcome back, everyone. Welcome back to the PondCast, another weekend edition here of the PondCast, episode 54, your weekly dose of all things StarCraft. I'm, of course, Josai VIP. With me, I'm joined by Kuro, producing behind the scenes, and, of course, by the lovely people in the chat as well. Welcome, one and all. As there is a lot to get into, there's a lot to divulge, there's a lot to embrace when it comes to news here in StarCraft, not just tournament results, but also a bunch of interviews as well. First things first, though, we do have an update regarding Firefly. For those who are curious, Firefly, he was suspended from the EWC. He did actually qualify for the main event through the Asia qualifiers. He was suspended. This was after Jim, the Chinese Protoss player, came out with a bunch of logs, came out with accusations, but also with logs behind it, talking about how Firefly alongside Jim were guilty of match fixing, and that came out. EWC, they suspended Firefly, and they have since conducted an investigation. I say EWC, but the ESIC, the Esports Integrity Commission, did conduct an investigation. A report was filed as well, or a report was made public, I should say. And they do go into detail as to the dates, as to not just chat logs, but also as to money transfers, lining up with dates, exact losses, exact communications between people as well. It was actually pretty in-depth. It was actually a pretty in-depth kind of report. I think a lot of people assumed that EWC wouldn't really do anything. Like, they would suspend, and they said that they were going to be looking into it, and they were going to conduct an investigation. I think some people assumed that maybe they wouldn't really. Maybe StarCraft is a smaller esport. Maybe they wouldn't go that far. But no, they did. They did. They went all the way. And since then, Firefly has been banned. I believe a lifetime ban, indefinitely. A lifetime ban on Firefly, and also Jim is suspended, and is also going to be conducting an investigation there. I mean, Jim, he publicly said that he was match fixing, so I think there's going to be a little bit less ambiguity as to what's going to be happening with Jim, but it looks like they're going to be going one step further and also looking into Jim as well. So again, it's really disappointing, really frustrating to see that someone of the skill and of the caliber of Firefly to be found to be match fixing, for sure. We were big fans of Firefly, especially when it came to his performances in WTL. He had a lot of potential as a player, for sure, but alas, he is going to be removed from the StarCraft scene. So again, the full report is available. So if you do want to look at it yourselves, it should be linked eventually in the eventual patch notes or in the description and the podcast notes even. So I do recommend it. Do recommend checking it out if you're interested in that sort of thing, in the finer details as to what was investigated, as to what did occur. Up next is going to be something a little bit on a brighter note here. We do have a bit of a documentary, or I say documentary, a bit of a snippet here from the Esports World Cup, focusing on Team Liquid. Now, this is something that they've been kind of really pushing for in the Esports World Cup. For those of you that are maybe a little bit unfamiliar and maybe only focused on watching StarCraft 2, Esports World Cup, they put a lot of emphasis on the teams themselves, on the teams and how important it is for teams to be supporting their own rosters and supporting multiple esports as well. There's a reason why they introduced the whole idea of this bonus being added here, or earning a bonus depending on how many esports you competed in the Esports World Cup. And also they tally all of that, and they actually have like a ranking system on teams depending on how well they perform in all those esports as well. And they did this highlight video on Team Liquid, and because of Clem's performance specifically, they actually do give a lot of credence and give a lot of focus to Clem in this video. So I do recommend it. Of course, Team Liquid, they started in StarCraft, and that's what they emphasized. And because Clem was the champion last year, that actually boosted Team Liquid in the overall team rankings to second place overall. I think Team Falcons was first, and Team Liquid got second place overall in the Esports World Cup rankings. And yeah, it was really cool. Like, it was really cool that Clem was given so much attention in this video. And again, it's because he was the champion. It wasn't necessarily because of StarCraft, but because his win gave so much credence and gave so many points to Team Liquid that's where a lot of the video does focus its attention. So it's really cool that was made. Of course, that did happen. And again, it also kind of pushes the idea of them promoting Clem even more. That's why he's also going to be, of course, in the Amazon Prime Video episode as well. So it was really cool to hear from Clem once again, really cool to hear from Nazgul as well. And it wasn't necessarily anything too new that we had found out. So once again, Clem, he reiterates that, of course, he is going to be in Korea in the lead up to EWC. They kind of hyped Clem up a little bit as well, talking about how humble he is and how he's always, gunning for that #1 spots, and how much it meant to Team Liquid as a team for Clem to like kind of claim that win, and for how strong he was looking last year as well, especially against several of all players in those finals. So again, it's really cool. It's quite short as well. It's quite short, and I mean the video itself is about Team Liquid. There's a good portion about Clem, and then they go into some of their other esports and some of their other teams or rosters and other aspects of Team Liquid as well. So I do recommend it. Do recommend it. It's a really nice little piece here for Team Liquid, for Clem as well. And obviously wish them the best coming into this year, coming into the next season of Esports World Cup. That leads us into our next bit of content here. That leads us into an interview here with ByuN. This is Tea Time with ByuN. If you've been tuning into the podcast, that you would know that they've already conducted an interview and like a kind of like a sit down and like a casual back and forth with Lambo and with Hearthstone. They did one with Hearthstone, did one with Lambo. Bearing in mind that these were recorded before DreamHack Dallas. If you remember, pre-DreamHack Dallas, a bunch of the players actually traveled to Canada to the Shopify HQ where they all trained, they all practiced, and they got ready for DreamHack Dallas. They all boot camped together. Estrella was there as well. Once again, ByuN also spoke about Estrella. He was giving Estrella and Scarlet praise for their Korean, of course, as they both did spend a lot of time in South Korea. And I'm still holding out hope that we should be getting one of these coffee times or tea times with Scarlet. I'm holding out hope they do one for Max Angel as well. Like if he's there with them boot camping, I know he's not a part of the team, but it would be nice. It would be nice if they brought him on board and if there was a little bit more dialogue there. It will be nice. When it comes to the interview itself, it was relatively short, is what I will say, especially compared to the Lambo and Hearthstone one. Partly, I would imagine, because of the language barrier as well. So there was maybe a little bit less of a back and forth conversation that was happening. But there were definitely some really fun things that he did mention. He spoke about how he gave like a brief little like story about how he was living with Maru and how basically he was asked the question like, hey, do you have anything to say about Maru that would surprise people? He's like, well, when we were living together, I think they still are, I think they're roommates basically. When there was a thunderstorm, there was a really loud and really rough thunderstorm, and it woke them up in the middle of the night, and Maru was terrified, and he woke up crying, and it was and ByuN had to console him. He had to come in for his boy, and he was like, it's okay, Pap, it's okay. And yeah, I think for a long time Maru has had this kind of like this image of being of course a little bit younger and maybe a little bit more innocent at times, but that like kind of pushes that narrative a little bit as well. So he shared a little story about that. He also shared a story about his military, which was really cool, just because we don't often get to hear many stories from the military once players come back. And he spoke about how when he was at the military, one of the senior officers, not one of the other, rookies or trainees, one of the senior officers was a fan. And how he spoke about how it was like either day 2 or day 3, he went of the military, like one of his senior officers approached him and asked for his autograph. And all the other like rookies, all the other trainees that were there, like as a part of his group, they saw this and they're like, who is this guy? Like they're like, and ByuN, he said that he never divulged who he was. He never told them that he was a pro gamer or anything like that. He just kind of left that ambiguous, and then and apparently like gave him a lot of like credit, or it gave him like a lot of notoriety amongst them, and he had a fun time while in the military. So he was very thankful. He's very thankful to his senior officer. And apparently after ByuN had left the military, after he finished his service, the same officer actually went to one of ByuN's like offline matches afterwards, and they were able to meet up there as well. So it was really cool. It's really cool. Specifically, he mentioned how the senior officer gave him like a gift, gave him like a military gift. Like he gave him, apparently it was like a special kind of like set of gloves. There's like a ceremonial thing that you don't often give, that you give to other like high ranking people. But he gave it to ByuN, and so again, like that gave him like status amongst other people. It was like, oh god. So yeah, it was definitely a fun story to hear, and yeah, it was fun for sure. really cool to see that that he was able to have that experience, of course, when doing his military service. Likewise, he was also asked about the rest of his teammates. He was asked a little bit about his practice regiment. Again, it was a really wholesome interview. He was talking about like I think it was asked like how how difficult it is playing StarCraft for so long and what his practice is like. And he's like, no, I really like it. He's like, I love StarCraft. Like I wake up, I play StarCraft. I eat, I play StarCraft. I sleep, I dream about StarCraft. He's like, it's great, it's beautiful. So the passion is real. The passion is real, and of course that kind of coincides with what we've been talking about recently during our broadcast. Is how active ByuN has been. He's been playing in all these online tournaments, all these online weeklies. We'll get into it when it comes to the tournament results this week, of course. But his approach to practice for EWC has been very different to a lot of others. Players like Hero, for example, have been playing in less tournaments as of late. For good reason, or I mean, for his reason. It was the same last year. It was in preparation of EWC, and it was in, of course, the idea here to hide builds, to hide strategies. Whereas you have ByuN on the opposite side that plays in everything he can and just grinds as much as possible. I want to say that a part of this might be because Hero does rely a little bit more on certain builds and like hidden tactics and special tactics, if you will, and he does rely at times a little bit more surprising his opponent, whereas ByuN is very mechanical based. I think notoriously so. He's very much so mechanical based, so he's not really showing off anything too much when it comes to him playing and everything. He's like, using that to refine his own mechanics, refine his own skill, refine his own control, and he often does rely on that more so than other like aspects of the game. But regardless, it was really fun to catch up with ByuN, and I'm sure we're going to be getting another one of these coffee times with Scarlet as well, and potentially Astrea in the future. Potentially. So, with that, shout out to ByuN. That leads us into our next our next podcast, actually. Shout out to Comeback TV, of course, the French organization, or the French collaboration here between Coca, TKL, and Funka, and they had a Clem Back TV episode here. Apparently, they do have their own podcast that they do host on a regular basis. They actually had Clem on this time. Now, unfortunately, the entire podcast is in French, and they don't have dedicated subtitles in English. So if you're not a native French speaker, it's a little bit difficult to really consume this content. You can actually auto translate. They do have French subtitles. I believe you can auto translate to English, and you can try to consume by that. And I mean, from what I got from it, it's a really laid back, a really fun kind of environment. Really cool to see them all interacting with Clem. I'm sure they do on a more regular basis to begin with, and they were able to have a small conversation, or I say small, have a lengthy conversation with him. They're having some fun as well. Clem, he was also talking about how he does, he's going to Korea, how he's practicing in Korea and getting ready for EWC. One of the questions they asked him was, when you go to Korea, like when you have a new account, like how long does it take to get to GM? And he's like, with a fresh account, maybe like 60 games to get to GM. Like Coca's out here joking like, it took me like 15 years. it's like hi papi, I can barely even do it now. It's like, oh no. So there's a lot of banter between them as well. I think something that was interesting is that Clem, he mentioned that because it takes so long, and because 60 games takes some time, and it's not really the best practice to kind of rank up an account to start laddering on Korea, just because of MMR decay. Like he doesn't have like a pre-laddered account. Typically, like one of the other Koreans actually give him an account. And for this season, for this preparation cycle, it's Ryung. Like Ryung, the Korean Clem, if you will. So he's actually laddering on Ryung's account to get ready to practice and to improve. So it was really cool to hear. They also had a brief discussion about Clem's Protoss, and about how he's been practicing his Protoss, of course, for quite some time. And they asked him about his practice for his Protoss, and what the European ladder was like. And Clem, he was emphasizing as well that it's actually really difficult to practice this PvT on Europe because there aren't really many Terran players in Europe. And we speak about this as well all the time, how currently in the current modern era of StarCraft, a lot of the top Terran players are in Korea. I think in years past, like all the Protosses were in Korea, like with Rain, with Stats, with Patience, with Hero, with SOS, with MC. Like those Korea used to be really Protoss heavy, but nowadays in the current era, all the Terrans are there, right? You got Bunny, you got Ryung, you got ByuN, you have Maru, you have Kyor, you have Gumiho. Like all the top Koreans are, sorry, all the top Terrans are in Korea. So Clem, he was having a really hard time finding practice partners for his PvT. So like he's excited to go to Korea and excited to practice his PvT even more. So that's going to be a big part of his practice regimen, of course, when it comes to his Protoss versus Terran. Likewise, they were also joking a little bit as well about like the European Terrans, about how like, you know, yeah, like who can he play against? Like there's Gabe, sure, like Gabe, he sometimes ladders, and then who else is there? They're like, there's Thermal, and he's usually out there making YouTube videos, so he's not playing standard. Like there's, and I think Kirk was like, yeah, and you know, you can ask Spirit for some customs, and Clem's like, yeah, he asked Spirit for like PvT customs, and Spirit's like, PvT? No. Like he just runs away from PvT like the plague. It's like, does want to play, doesn't want to practice. It's like, no, smooch. And they were like reminiscing together where Koka, he was because after Clem brought up that Eutherm was usually like recording a video, so he's like not playing standard, he's doing his own thing. Koka was like, yeah, I remember when Mana, he was doing like a cannon rush to GM like video series for YouTube, and he kept hitting me on the ladder. He just kept cannon rushing me. You know, he's like, I felt so sad. Oh no. So yeah, it's a fun, like there's a lot of banter. It's a fun back and forth, and again, I do recommend it. Especially if you're a native French speaker, to tune in, or you can of course try to keep up with those like subtitles as well, and try to indulge and try to again embrace. And again, they get into a lot, so I do recommend it. Again, it's a really fun environment, as they're all, you know, good friends. They're all old-time friends here: TKL, Funka, Koka, and Clem. So much love. Much love. As that leads us into our next bit of news, or that leads us into our next, I should say, content piece here. Road to EWC. We spoke about this last week, how Basilisk, they have been pumping out these, in a way, like YouTube shorts or these small clips, like asking like a couple of questions here and there to the players in the lead up to EWC. This one was, what is your favorite map in the map pool? And they all had the same answer. They were like, yeah, Tokamak. Yeah. Which makes sense. Like, Tokamak is, I would kind of like categorize it as one of the larger maps. They said it was more standard, and I probably would agree with that, in the sense that, I mean, in the grand scheme of things, like, sure, but like currently, I guess there are so many non-standard maps that like it kind of skews at least my perception of it. But yes, they all just said the same thing. They all went for Tokamak. They're like, yeah, you know, it's there are a lot of options for bases, right? It's not as small as like your pylon or your torches or your Persephone. It's not as big as Maganatha, for example, or Incorporeal. You know, it's a nice map. And yeah, that's kind of what they went into. Trigger, he had a hard time. He was like, what maps are they? He was like, he's like, there's so many, I didn't even know them. But for the most part, there was a consensus that they all enjoyed Tokamak, which, I mean, to be expected for sure. Yeah. So I'm saying nothing too major, just a small little content piece. And again, this is what they've been producing. I do recommend checking out the other ones. Again, they've been going into like what their favorite unit is, and they were hyping up Trigger as well a couple of weeks ago. So these small little bite-sized pieces, Basilisk has been pumping out, and I'm sure we're going to be getting more in the lead up to EWC. So do check it out. Meanwhile, that leads us into our next piece, or our next big announcement, actually. That is Ladder Legends. It's like, I would say, an announcement of an announcement. Basically, it turns out that we do have a bit of a coaching service that are planning to release. I say planning because I believe they still have yet to fully launch their service, but they have announced their coaches for certain races. Battle B here is going to be a part of this, alongside Maples, alongside Nico, alongside Hino as well, and some of these other like top GMs. And yeah, it's definitely an interesting thing that I wasn't quite expecting. Fun fact, this actually coincided with the return of Battle B, and I wonder if it's linked. If you remember, last week we spoke about how, like, oh, Battle B, he competed again. He was playing in tournaments again. And I checked on Wikipedia, and I checked on Aligulac, and Battle B, he hasn't competed in almost a year. Like, he stopped competing last year. I think the last time he competed was last year Home Story Cup. Home Story Cup 26. That's been like what, 9 months? It's been a very, very long time. And because like it's been so long since Battle B competed, like I was concerned that he had silently retired. Like there have been a couple of players that silently stepped away. Like Cuckoo is one of them, for example. Like Cuckoo comes to mind. Akedon comes to mind. Battle B comes to mind as well. A lot of players that there was no big announcement, they just stopped competing, stopped playing, and they've been gone for like a year at this point. And I thought that Battle B was one of them. He was one of them, but he started competing once again last week. It was a little bit unfortunate because basically he started competing again after Home Story Cup 27. I would have loved to have seen him at Home Story Cup as well, but it was the week after, basically. It was the week after Home Story Cup. And that coincided with this announcement. So I'm curious if it's linked. I'm curious if maybe he was offered, this coach role, and he's like, oh yeah, like I'll do this, and if I'm going to be coaching, may as well start playing again. so Battle B, his return coincided with this announcement, which was interesting to see, and pleasant to see as well. It's always great to see Battle B competing again, and we'll see what that means, and whether we see more of Battle B in these upcoming tournaments, and maybe even in some offline events as well. So great to see the return of Battle B. And again, it's definitely an interesting service that they're going to be providing. As I mentioned, like I don't think they've fully launched
so
yet.
Here's an update. We had a tweet or post from Groovy, who said that they have a beta week, or yeah, that's how we say it, right? Beta week on July 9th to 13th. So basically from today until Sunday, they have like their testing phase, I guess, for the coaching, and they have listed the prices for 1 hour sessions, and you can try them out.
There you go. So it looks like they have yet to fully launch, but starting today for the next couple of days, they have kind of like launched it to see, or launched their beta, as you mentioned, to see kind of how things go, to kind of, I guess, work through their admin kind of process as well, to make sure they're able to like get through everything and make sure they're able to process everything. So yes, they have Battle B, Maples, Hino, Groovy, and Nico, all of course offering their coaching services. So you can, if you wish to try it out, then you can of course request their coaching if you wish. So that is going to be available here with the Ladder Legends. And again, wishing the best of luck when it comes to their endeavor, for sure. Wish them the best. That leads us into our next big piece of news as well. That is going to be a big announcement from Streamerzone. Now, if you recall, we spoke about how there was a bit of a teaser of something to come in the future. We didn't really know what it was going to be. We assumed it was going to be something tournament related, maybe an invitational, maybe something a little bit different, something more dedicated. I don't think anyone was expecting something of this magnitude, though. A $25,000 prize pool. Now, I say that, I believe that's going to be accumulating the prize money from all the tournaments. Looks like they have planned the Streamerzone StarCraft Pro Series. Unfortunately, they're not really unique when it comes to their tournament names, because we've already had the Alpha Pro Series and the Sonic Aftermath Pro Series, and we've had a lot of Pro Series
throughout
the history of. Yeah, we have true. We have the Yankee Pro Series as well. True. Now we have the StarCraft Pro Series. Let's go. God damn it. But regardless, looks like they have been planning something big. They've been planning weekly open tournaments. They've been planning online seasonal playoffs. They say online quarterly playoffs. In my mind, that means seasonal, right? Like for summer, autumn, spring, and winter, 4 times a year. And they're also planning one grand offline playoffs, one grand kind of final offline playoffs, like end of year sort of event as well. It's pretty big news, a pretty big initiative as well. Apparently it's been in the works for quite some time. This is the announcement of the announcements, as in there's no finer details yet, but they themselves have said that more news is coming at the end of 2025. So basically post EWC towards the end of 2025 is when more details regarding this will be announced. But again, I do actually quite like this though, even though it's an announcement of an announcement, even though there's no like sign up links, or there's no dates set in stone or anything like that. This is going to be giving players motivation and the opportunity to do something post EWC, right? Whether it's events like the Streamerzone event, whether it's the Platinum Heroes monthly tournaments, whether it's the other regular weeklies, whether it's RSL, like letting players know ahead of time, hey, like there are things to compete in, there are things to work towards, like is, I think, pretty important here. I think it's really important to establish that just so players, they aren't left in limbo and they don't know what it is they're playing for, if playing for anything after the Esports World Cup. So a big shout out to Streamerzone for stepping in and for investing a little bit further. If you recall, we were always a little bit tentative about Streamerzone just because they grew their team so quickly, and it's like, ooh, like are we going too fast? Are we going too fast too quickly? Are we going to be able to support all these players? But it seems like very much so the owner of Streamerzone is very passionate about StarCraft. Obviously, they have teams and they have rosters in other esports and other aspects. Their team isn't just StarCraft, but it does look like StarCraft is definitely something that has a soft, or they have a soft place in their hearts for StarCraft, which I do appreciate, and it does seem like they're very passionate, they're very dedicated, I should say, to StarCraft, to push for something like this, to push for these weekly tournaments, to push for these even offline finals. Like that's a pretty big endeavor here, and yeah, really cool to see them devoting as much as they are to StarCraft. So much love to Streamerzone, much love to Streamerzone, and again, more details to come in the future, in the next couple of months. So something to look forward to, for sure. Something to look forward to. As that leads us into our main topics, into our tournaments. Let's go. Let us go. It's been a while here, but we do have the StarCraft Evolution League King of the Hill number 5. This event has been on a bit of a hiatus for quite some time, but this was produced here as another way to kind of gauge the new PTR patch notes. Now, what I will say is that there is a new PTR like updates to StarCraft Evolution. We have been giving you guys updates, and there's another one that was recently released, but we will not be talking about that this week. We'll be talking about it next week. The reason for this is because a lot of the proposed changes and reverted changes as well, a lot of that was based off of player performances and game performances during the StarCraft Evolution Masters number 4, and we haven't covered that ourselves yet. And I feel like we probably need the context of those games and the context of those matches to give us a little bit more insight as to the changes being made, as to why they're being made, and as to what's happening with StarCraft Evolution currently. There's kind of a big shift happening when it comes to the developments and when it comes to the product that is StarCraft Evolution, and again, we've already expressed our concerns regarding that, but when it comes to the upcoming PTR changes, I do feel like we would need to, like, watch those games, cast those games, embrace them, and yeah, again, just have a little bit more knowledge coming into actually discussing those patch notes. So we will be discussing that next week. For this event, though, we did have our King of the Hill style format. It's been quite some time so far, just using the same map pool as previously, and again, this was done using the PTR. There's a process, of course, to actually get the PTR going, but once again, really cool to see Tasia. As we mentioned, we have already casted Tasia in StarCraft Evolution. He is looking very in form, and even here going on a bit of a win streak here, to be able to take down Starat, Cosmic, Rumieth, Prome as well. Looks like we recycled a couple of players a couple of times here, but regardless, we still had our 15 matches, 15 instead of 10. Interesting. So a bit of a longer kind of King of the Hill than we're used to seeing for StarCraft Evolution. The other thing as well is that Dice was also competing, bearing in mind that Dice, that is an alias of another Terran player from back in the day. Whether we eventually find out who that is, yet to be determined here, but of course we do know it's not Tasia, since they did compete against each other. So Tasia going on a really strong win streak. In the end, Tasia got knocked out by Starat, so Starat, he was able to get his revenge, as he actually went down to Tasia twice and was able to take him down in match 10. Starat then did trade blows with Prome, then with Dice, and then with 3 Point towards the end. So we did have a back and forth between a lot of these Korean players. Great to see that, and even Taiwanese players as well. So again, great to see the return here of Tasia, the return of a bunch of our regulars as well. And I hope to see more of Tasia in the future, for sure. Meanwhile, a big shout out to Kamikaze in the chat. Speaking of Taiwanese Pearls players, big shout out to Kamikaze. Hope you had a great stream. Hope you had a great ladder session. I hope you had a great time. And bienvenidos. Welcome one and all. When it comes to the games themselves, I mean, I will say it was probably a mistake. Never mind. I was going to say it was probably a mistake to cover this. We should probably cast this first before discussing some of these results. But I just mentioned that this event was done during the using a PTR process, which means we don't have the replays for these. We'd have to jump through some hoops to get the replays working, and there was no clean feed for this either. So there's no way for us to cast this ourselves. Or I guess technically we could if we figured out how to get the PTR working. And I don't know if we're going to try to step into that. So it's all good. It's all good. Regardless, congratulations to Tasia for claiming the most amount of wins here. Shout out to Starrat for coming in second place. Prome, Dice, and 3 Point for also claiming some wins as well. So really impressive play there, and look forward to seeing more of all these players in the future. Look forward to it in the upcoming StarCraft Illusion Championship. Meanwhile, that leads us into our amateur events, into the Amateur League Weeklies, number 133. Oh boy, that's a lot of weeklies. That's a lot of weeklies. Initially, we have the Initiates. We have the Initiates weekly for players between the ranks of Bronze and Platinum. Once again, the Amateur League weeklies are tournaments that don't have a prize pool, but they do provide points. They provide points to players where they accumulate them over time, and then there's an end of season finals where players are invited, the top players are invited, and that's where they can earn some prize money. For these regular weeklies, though, only points are on the line. It looks like we had a bit of a smaller player pool for this week's Initiate weekly. Here we did have Milo, actually. Oh my god. Yeah, let's go. We had Milo. He actually went down early to Bimbapunk, was able to come back from the lower bracket and was able to take it in the end 3-2 against his Protoss opponent. So big win there for Milo. Congratulations. Really well done. Really well done. That leads us into the Veteran Weekly for those between the leagues of Diamond 3 and Diamond 2. Here we did have a little bit more representation here. We had Taldarim, not the first time we've seen him. He does take down Bendito, does take down Heyman, takes down Lauren, and takes down Lauren again in the grand finals in the rematch. So a strong performance there from Taldarim. Was forced into the ace match multiple times, but I had a clean sweep in the finals 3-0. GG. Impressive performance there by Taldarim, with claiming this week's Diamond or Veteran Weekly. That leads us into Prestige. This is for the leagues between Diamond 1 and Masters 2. This is where we had the most amount of signups here. And we had, once again, that back and forth between Beast and Dizzy Dwarf. Dizzy Dwarf does take down Beast 2-1 in the initial round 4 match. Matrix does fall to Dizzy Dwarf as well in the upper semifinals. And then we have the rematch. Beast was able to take down Dizzy Dwarf 3-0. Looks like a forfeit towards the end. So hopefully everything was okay. Not the first time we've seen some forfeits here, but Beast does get his revenge, does claim the win. GG will play. That leads us into the Elite Tournament. This is for Master 1 to GM. And once again, we have our regulars here. We have Cobblestone. Cobblestone takes down Miss Crimson 2-0, takes down Sewer Badger 2-0, and takes down Miss Crimson in the grand finals 3-2 as well. Interesting that Ateshi went down to Crimson. That in my mind is an upset. Okay, Ateshi is a really strong Korean Protoss player. He's a little bit stronger in StarCraft Evolution. True. Less so in SE2, but yeah, it's impressive performance here from our other regulars. Impressive play. That leads us into our next big one-off event here. Every now and then, Rotterdam does host what? He does host the Rodi Stream Rumble 4K edition. This was another tournament here limited to players between the leagues or between the MMR of 3.5k and 4.5k MMR. We actually had some casters. Cosmos was competing. Let's go. Cosmos took down Killer B 2-0. He went to the ace match against Medic Jr. in the upper bracket finals, and he fell to Medic Jr. in the grand finals. But again, a really, really surprising and strong performance there from Cosmos. Really fun to see him competing here. He's not often competing. Every now and then he signs up for a tournament, but he signed up for our tournament like once before as well, but really cool to see. Much love to Cosmos. Much love. And congratulations to Medic Jr. as well. Congratulations on the win. And really cool to see Verdam hosting this event as well. I believe this was hosted because there was no Monday Night Weekly this week. So I know that Roddy, he wanted to organize something for the players and something for the people. So really well done. Really well done here to Medic Jr., Cosmos, Pi, and Haroku as well. Speaking of amateur events, we do have our own. We have the Masters 1 Open at number 93. This is our monthly tournament for those between the leagues of bronze up to 4.7k MMR. And in this event, we did have some newer faces. We had some newer faces rocking up as well. We had some UK representation with Zeroy, with Distan, with Roselia, some of our more regulars, of course. And we had an all UK finals. Distan takes down Roselia 2-0, takes down Zeroy 2-0, and did have more of a back and forth against Roselia in the finals. 3-1 did go the way of Distan. GG, well played. Something else I should point out that's a bit of a rare sight, especially in our tournaments: no Protoss. No Protoss at all. It was purely Terran and Zerg. Where were the Protoss, Pappy? They had too much MMR. True. So again, just purely Terran, just purely TVZs and TVTs towards the end of the event. Shout out, of course, to Kuro and Steel Mold for casting and for hosting the event itself. And again, congratulations to Distan for claiming the win, not to be confused with Dastan. True. GG, well played. That leads us into Monkey Fights number 3. We actually covered, I believe, the previous Monkey Fights as well. That was last week. But here we do have a more CIS centralized tournament here. This is for, likewise, players between the MMR of 0 and 4.9k. So those are 4.9 and below. Players I'm not too familiar with here. We do have Bloody Monster going all the way to the finals here to face off against Well. And Well does claim the win 3-2 against Bloody Monster. GG, well played. Impressive performance there by Well. And really cool to see more amateur events popping up. This isn't necessarily, or hasn't really been a regular, but now is becoming more of a regular tournament here, with the Monkey Fights and with the tournaments again more centralized towards European or the CIS region. Is always a good thing. Now, I believe the previous Monkey Fights was not MMR restricted. Yeah, that's what I was looking at here. So it was open to all players. This one was MMR restricted. So I don't know if they're going to alternate back and forth. Maybe they'll have like a different system on a weekly basis. It's hard to say. It's hard to say for certain here. It looks like the next edition, Monkey Fights number 4, it looks like that edition does not have an MMR restriction. They might alternate. True. They might alternate back and forth. We'll keep you notified. We'll let you know. We'll let you know. Regardless, GG well played. Congratulations to Well. As that leads us into the Passioncraft Emerging Stars number 23. Another MMR restricted tournament. Again, we're going through all the kind of like MMR restricted tournaments here. This is for those between 5.5k MMR and below. So this is going to be mid-GM here for our players. We have Inexorable. He has won many of these in the past, and he does take it again. Takes down Marek, takes down Hackers Top, and takes down Mini Zerg UA in the grand finals. They have had a bit of a back and forth, I will say. I want to say that last week Mini Zerg came second place once again, but he has won one of these, I'm pretty sure. But yes, last week, Mini Zerg, he took down Inexorable. This time, Inexorable gets his revenge and takes down Mini Zerg UA. So GG well played. Inexorable, he will claim his spot for OSC Elite Rising Star number 16, which will be played at some point this year. I say that there is a chance it might be played out next year instead. We'll keep you notified. we'll let you know. We'll let you know. Regardless, congratulations there to Inexorable. That leads us into the Nation League Season 6. Once again, this is an MMR restricted tournament for those that are Diamond and Masters. We do have the Nation League popping off, and the semifinals was this week. We had Taiwan versus Brazil, and they went all the way to the ace match. Oh my god. We had Elazar, we had Elazar taking down a Blink 2-0. We had Ming taking down Purple 2-0. We had Adez and Andy tied 1-1, and then Andy does barely claim the win in the ace match over Adez to take the win for Taiwan. GG, well played, Taiwan. They do claim the win. They do advance on to the grand finals. Meanwhile, Kazakhstan versus Germany also went the way of Kazakhstan. We had Chrysocross taking down Bali 2-0. We had Wifoxus taking down Cheese 2-0. And we had Panda taking down Time Rainer 2-0 as well. In the end, to go the way of Kazakhstan. Now, when it comes to these top 4 players or top 4 teams, we still have more matches ahead of us. Up next will be the grand finals and the third place match as well. So there's still going to be prize money on the line, and we'll be crowning our champion next week. We'll be crowning that champion. And again, of all teams, Taiwan and Kazakhstan, they make it to the finals. Really impressive performances there, really impressive, really strong showings, and we do wish them the best of luck in those finals. Same can be said here to Hungary and to Brazil as well. GG. GG, well played. That leads us into the Toho 2v2 Cup number 4. That leads us into our 2v2 tournaments here, as we do have Restart and Nanami having a really strong performance here. Again, Nanami Chiaki has been on fire as of late in the 1v1 format. I'll be honest, coming into this, there are some other big heavy hitters. We have Lemon and Oriana. We have Triple H and Young Zest as well. I'll say the upper half of the bracket was really stacked. That was who seeded this tournament. Really stacked in the upper half of the tournament. Some more unknowns in my mind, at least in the lower half of the bracket instead. And in the end, we had Restart and Nanami claiming the 2-0s and the 3-0 in the grand final, not dropping a single map in this tournament. Really impressive showing. Really cool to see. Congratulations to Restart and Nanami. And I hope that one day we get to see some of these Chinese 2v2 teams cross over and compete in Euthermal's 2v2 circuit. I know that Euthermal's 2v2 circuit is at a really, really bad time slot for the Chinese region. It's at a really, really rough time, so it's much more difficult to compete in. But I'm hoping that one day we get to see some of that crossover, at least a little bit. I know that Lemon, he does compete from time to time, but I think he's the one exception. Is one exception. As that leads us into Euthermal's 2v2 circuit warm-up cup number 1. Now, when it comes to the main events, when it comes to the overall circuit, we already have our confirmed teams. We already have our teams. We already have our confirmed players competing in the main event, in the main circuit. But because the main circuit is still a ways away, Euthermal did decide to host some weekly 2v2 tournaments. The prize pool here is still very substantial here. It's still 420, nice, USD, as the main prize pool. And it does allow these players to still continue to compete. And we have some interesting pairings here. Okay. Once again, the replacement man, he strikes again. Once again, there's no max to Spirit. Spirit, he does sign up alongside Showtime, and they go on a tear here. They take down Def Mars and Zardians. They take down G Machine and Shameless, who I would say is one of the stronger teams out there. For sure, they took down Lambo and Hearthstone in the previous round. And Spirit and Showtime, they claim the win over Trigger and Clem 3-0. Again, Spirit and Showtime, they have won these events in the past. Spirit and Max are the strongest 2v2 team out there, but maybe I'm not giving enough credit to Showtime. Maybe it's Spirit that's been carrying Max this entire time. It's possible, it's possible. So congratulations here to Spirit and Showtime. Trigger and Clem, always second place. I don't think they've ever won one of these. I think I think every single time they sign up, they come in second. God damn it! Of course, nowadays Clem is focusing a lot more on 1v1, and less so on 2v2. Fun fact: there's also the Korean duo, was Trigger and Clem, both in Korea. True. They're both currently in South Korea. They had a really good performance themselves, but they did go down to Spirit and Showtime. And again, they actually haven't played 2v2 together in quite some time, so there might be a bit of a learning curve there, or they might have to, shake off their rust in 2v2 before they can compete and compare to Spirit. Maybe. So, here we go. Wouldn't South Korea have the same time slot as China for the 2v2 circuit? Yes, that's also why there are no Koreans. As you can see here, there's no Korean representation in these events either. I guess technically we do kind of with Trigger and Clem, right? Like they are in South Korea, so they're the exception. We did have Gumiho and Ryung sign up once together. That's the only Korean sign up that we had is Ryung and Gumiho. But here we go. With that leads us into our next tournament. That's going to be us wrapping up with a 2v2 circuit here. And again, this is going to be a weekly tournament that Euthermal is running in the lead up to the main event, in the lead up to the main circuit. So you can still enjoy that 2v2 that 2v2 game mode in the interim. So you can still enjoy it. And again, congratulations to Spirit and Showtime. Congratulations. As that leads us into our next big piece of news, that leads us into our regional matches, that leads us into the Polish FEL Cracov 2025 Championship. Now, if you recall, last week we were going over the qualifiers, the global qualifiers, and we'll be, I guess, discussing that later on. But we were also covering the Polish qualifiers as well, and now we have our championship. Now through the qualifiers, congratulations to Papi, Papi, Papi and Trifax. They do make it through the qualifiers to the main event, and now we have our finalized players here. It's going to be Art. It's going to be 5 Protoss, 1 Terran, and 2 Zerg. It's going to be Art, Geralt, Cristiano, Mana, and Papi. It's going to be Spirit, Laser, and Trifax. So we have our confirmed players. We have a confirmed 8 players for the main event. Groups have been assigned, and the group stage is going to be in a couple of days. Again, we are going to be casting the group stage here on the CranKy Ducklings, as we are going to be the English broadcasters. We have a Laser, Cristiano, Mana, and Trifax in Group A. That's going to be the ZVP group. And we have Group B. It's going to be Geralt, Spirit, Art, and Papi. Spirit, they were joking earlier during the French podcast about how Spirit, he avoids TVP like the plague. Not anymore. he's locked in with all the Protoss, Papi. So best of luck to Spirit as he's surrounded by Protoss, and likewise best of luck to all the players really coming into the group stage. Typically we have predictions coming into this, and I would lean towards our Polish correspondent, Kupa. Who do you feel is going to come out of the groups?
Okay. Group A, Mana.
Okay.
On a more serious note, Mana Cristiano is the obvious choice. Like, I don't think Laser is currently in shape because he's more about AoE at the moment.
Yep.
He seems very intense about that. I mean, look, Trifax has a chance, but Mana has been on fire, and like Cristiano is pretty good. So I feel like that's the logical choice, though.
He is full of tuna.
He is full of tuna. For Group B, I mean, the obvious choice would be Geralt Spirit, but I will say that both Art and Papi have potential to like, you know, step in and just surprise everybody with their performance. They have done so before, so I feel like the Group B is much less settled in that regard.
Yeah, I would definitely agree there. You know, for better for worse, Laser has been playing a lot of AoE 4, has been streaming a lot of AoE 4, and I do feel like some of his tournament results have been reflective of that. Despite that, I do want to say the Lasers, he's still a really strong player, but currently Cristiano and Mana have been devoting a lot more time to StarCraft 2. They've been improving a lot more StarCraft 2, and they are coming in as, I would say, the favorite players. But I could definitely see a Laser causing an upset. From Group B, I would agree that Spirits and Geralt are the favorite players as well. Art and Papi, they haven't been as active as they have in the past. They haven't been devoting as much time to StarCraft, but neither has Spirit. Like, Spirit has also been struggling a little bit as well, so we'll see. We'll see if any upsets do occur. I hope so. Hope that we get to see some upsets and some more competition between our players. As a reminder as well, next week is going to be the group stage and the semifinals and finals as well. The entirety of this event will be played out throughout the course of the week. And the champion of the Polish Championship will be seeded into the global offline tournament in Krakow. So there's going to be that seed, that invite to that final event. Bearing in mind as well that it might get a little bit complicated because I believe there are some Polish invites already. So if the Polish invited player makes it through and earns this seed, I would imagine that the seed goes to second place or to third place, or would go down depending on like who's already made it through. Similar to like Star Zagora, where Showtime, he was able to qualify for EWC through Star Zagora because all the other top players had already earned their own spots. So I would imagine that's how that would work. So bear that in mind. But regardless, there is going to be a lot on the line here to compete to represent in Krakow in that offline tournament. And we'll be getting into the invites to that offline tournament towards the end of the broadcast. We'll get there. We'll get there. Until then, up next we do have Little Stormy Cup at number 23. Once again, we did have our somewhat regular events. It's been once again slowly creeping back up here. There was a big hiatus with the Little Stormy Cup, but recently did come back, and we did have Minovik. Minovik takes down Solicitous 4-0 to claim the win in the end. GG well played. Shout out to MidVK for claiming that win. That leads into the Legacy Weekly Japan 4-6-2-1 Open. No prospect this time, so now there's nothing restricting the players. They can all show up, they can all compete. We had Sayark. Sayark takes down Kazumon, takes down Burfil, and takes down, does go down even to Vaishravanya in the finals. Ay. Where was Tapioca? Where's our favorite boy? This time, unfortunately, looks like Bubble Tea or Boba did not compete. And instead we had Vaishravanya claiming the win over Sayark in the finals. GG well played to Vaishravanya for claiming that win. And hopefully we get to see some more Tapioca in the future. Hopefully. Regardless, that leads us into the Chin King Team League 2025 Spring Edition. We've been working through the playoffs, I should say. Last week we did cover the quarterfinals. This week we have the semifinals wrapping up. We had Elpis versus PCEC, and Elpis, they take the win here. Nanami Chiaki over his opponent 2-0. We had Nanami, my apologies, of course. It is all-kill format, so Nami Shaki, they tie 1-1 with their next opponent. They knock each other out. We had SCV stepping in, knocking himself out alongside his opponents there. I believe, is that Silky? No, that's a separate opponent instead. But in the end, Elpis, they do claim the win with Oriana, where he was able to beat the Revive, as of course there is a Revive available here. They revived PCEC, I should say. They revived their Zerg player, and in the end they did go down. I will say I'm a little bit surprised just because PCEC, I want to say they have a stronger roster than what they showed here. Yeah, double checking. They have Mixu. Mixu's on their roster, and Mixu, it looks like, unavailable for the finals. I feel like he is their ace player, and unfortunately he was not there for them in the semifinals of the Chin King Team League. So with that, they did struggle a little bit more without Mixu, and Elpis, they do take it in the end. GG well played. And that means that we have our grand finals ready. It's going to be Starlight Twinkle versus Elvis. We have our starting players as well. Jollywa Loves versus Lemon. Oh boy, it's going to be a brutal matchup here. Again, we do have a lineup of not just Jollywa. They have, I believe, Triple H and Young Zest as well. Starlight Twinkle, they have a hefty team. Yeah, they have Triple H. They have Young Zest, they have Rewhite, they have Jollywa Loves. They have a heavy lineup of Protoss. Like they're like the Protoss team. So it's not going to be easy to bring them down. Best of luck to Elpis to try to cause that upset and to work the way through from the quarterfinals all the way to the championship. It'll be a big performance for them if they can pull it off. So best of luck. Best of luck to Elpis. Best of luck to Starlight Twinkle, as that leads us into our next big event. That leads us into the Sunrise Cup. Sunrise Cup number 206. This is a weekly tournament for the Chinese region, for the Chinese scene, and we're used to seeing Nanami Chiaki claim the win here, but no, Smile takes down Nanami instead. Big win there for Smile. I will say we did not have a notable coming in from the lower half of the bracket, and Smile does claim the win 3-0. Big win there for Smile. Again, as I mentioned, we're used to seeing Nanami kind of claim these wins, or maybe Oriana as well, but this week there was no Oriana, and this week Smile takes it all. Congratulations here. Smile, a name that I'm not as familiar with, so great to see him doing well. That leads us into Little League Cup number 41. That leads us into our next set of matches. I would say, though, very quickly, is that we should probably talk about this next week, because we can cast this. so moving on, we'll just go over it. It's too late. It's too late. We'll go over it. We do have ByuN. We had a 4-player invitational. We'll most likely be covering this via replays, so don't you worry with that. It was covered by, of course, Lil Lee, that is Saber, but we'll be catching up with this later on in the week. ByuN takes down Rogue 3-2. Gumiho takes down Creator 3-2, and ByuN over Gumiho in the finals. Big win there for ByuN. A very impressive performance. He does claim the win. We spoke earlier. We were giving praise to ByuN about how active and how just how active he is in the tournament scene, how he's playing in everything, and how ByuN is very much so in form. To take down Rogue and Gumiho, big win there for ByuN. And again, we'll be catching up on these replays in the coming weeks. That leads us into the Bastards Big Brain Bouts, number 97. I feel like it's been a while. Am I crazy? I feel like it's have they been on a bit of a hiatus? 96 was, yeah, back in May. What happened? Like it's only just now hitting me that we just haven't had a big break. I mean, I guess Home Story Cup, true. I guess we've been having a bunch of tournaments like Home Story Cup and yeah, the EWC qualifiers as well. So a lot of tournaments went on hiatus. I guess the big brain bouts also went on a hiatus as well, but now they are back, at least for now, before EWC. And wow, we had the UK edition this time. I say the UK edition, we had like the Civil War edition. Jesus. Or the Colonial War, as it's America versus UK throughout the entirety of the show match. Oh my Jesus. Okay. So up first we had Nico. We had Nico up against J Money. Nico takes the 3-0 over J Money to claim the win for Great Britain. We have Roscoe. We had Roscoe versus Patches. Roscoe also claims the win here as well, taking down Patches. So another big win here for Great Britain as well. They do take the first two matches. That leads us into Gamer Richie versus Heaven. Heaven fighting back for the US. He does claim the win 3-1. Also notice a lot of PVTs here. But yeah, Heaven, he does claim the win. Does take it over Gamer Richie. Very impressive here by Heaven. And that leads us into the final event with Figaro. Figaro versus Akedon. Figaro will claim it 3-0. And in the end, the UK, they do take the win. How do we have a UK versus US matchup without Eba? What? What just happened? Where's Eba, papi? Not gonna lie, a little bit surprised that they didn't reach out to Eba, and we maybe could have had like an Eba versus. I would have said Eba versus Future would have been like a really good lineup and a really good matchup, in my mind at least. Maybe it would have been a little bit harder to get a hold of them, but maybe next time. Regardless, in the end, the UK, they do claim the win over the US. Congrats. In honor, I'll have some tea today. Have some tea. Yes. Earl Grey. As that does claim the win here for the UK. That leads us into our next big event. That leads us into our OSC tournaments this week. That leads us into the OSC King of the Hill number 216. We just featured a King of the Hill style format tournament earlier, of course, with StarCraft Evolution. But now we have the more regular OSC event, and we had ByuN we were just giving him praise, if you recall. We were talking about it during the interview, we were talking about it during the results, and now we see it here. ByuN doesn't let anyone earn any money. ByuN, he comes in and he wins everything here. ByuN takes down Mixu, Spirit, Young Yakov, Nickrat, Geralt, Jumi, Percival, Shameless, Cristiano, Night Phoenix, Gigi Machine, Milky Cow, MinoVK, Hydra, and Max Pax. No one could stop this man. He just takes everything. Yeah. Usually, whenever we have OSC King of the Hill, ByuN he's a regular, but often we do see other players step into the ring and knock him down, right? Like usually a Cristiano or a Max Pax or a Percival or even a Nickeract. Like there is definitely some top tier players that can bring him down. A Skillus even as well comes to mind. A Spirit, but not this time, not this week. ByuN, he starts and he does not stop. That is a crazy run here from ByuN. Crazy endurance run as well. So GG well played. Congratulations here to ByuN for claiming the win and for taking every single win here in the King of the Hill. His reign does not end, and because he was for the final King of the Hill as well, he's going to be invited to do it again, and to be the starting player, I should say. So I don't think we've had some crazy win streaks before. Like this is not an unseen sight. Like we have seen Max Pax do this. I want to say we've seen Special do this. No, maybe Kelliser do this as well. Like we have seen players.
I'm pretty sure
go
Special
for
did as well.
Yeah, we've seen some players like go on a tear and win every single game. It's rare, but it's happened before. We've never seen a player go back to back 30 games in a row. That has not happened. Like back to back, winning one full week and then winning another full week. Can ByuN be the first? Like I just because specifically right now he's really in form. Right now he's very in form. Right now he's looking like a beast. Right now like he's very much so dedicating a lot of time to practicing, to improving, to EWC. So I hope that he's going to be available to be the starting player, and I want to see him go for it. But to be the first in 216 weeks, to be the first to win 30 games in a row. Let's go. Best of luck. Best of luck to ByuN. ByuN. Ay. as he will be attempting that next week. So make sure you tune into that. Shout out to Dave Testa, of course, for casting that OSC Weekly. That leads us into this week's KSL number 77. And this was a very special KSL because this week we had Rainer. As a reminder, Rainer, Clem, and Trigger, they're all currently in South Korea. They're all practicing, getting ready here for the EWC. And Rainer was able to compete this week. Not just Rainer, but a bunch of our regulars as well. We had a Classic took down Estrella 2-1 in the quarterfinals. Classic took down Hero 2-1 as well in the semis. That was a very intense series, by the way. Very intense PvPs back and forth. Very chaotic matches, I should emphasize. As Classic does go all the way to the grand finals. Rainer, he takes down Lemon 2-0, takes down ByuN 2-0, and Rainer, he faced off against Classic. This was a little bit more one-sided. Classic was looking very strong and very dominant in PvZ. I was quite impressed by Rainer in his ZVT. Specifically, Rainer, he was flexing and showing off a unique style here. If you remember, Shin, alongside Sterile and many other Zurich players, have been recently devoting and recently showing off this Roach-based opener. Roaches into Infestor, into Ultra. We saw this at DreamHack Dallas. This is how Clem got eliminated. This is how Clem, he was eliminated from DreamHack Dallas. Now, Rainer has been doing something similar, but instead he's been greedier. He's been going Ling, skipping Banelings, going Ling into Infestor, into Ultra as well. And he was able to kind of catch ByuN off guard here. I'm bringing this up now because this is going to factor in later on in one of these other events. So Rainer, he was able to catch ByuN with his pants down, able to catch him off. We have been praising ByuN as of late for excelling as of late as well, but Rainer, he does shut him down, he does humble him, and takes that 2-0, and then he gets humbled as well, as Classic bobs him. A lot of Glaive Adepts. Glaive Adepts were involved, the more defensive play was involved, and Classic, he was looking like an animal in those finals. GG. GG will played in present performance there by Classic. He does claim the win over Rainer. Fun fact as well, this is the first time in 2025 that Hero doesn't win a KSL. Specifically, I should say that Hero doesn't win a KSL that he signed up for. There have been some KSLs that he hasn't won. That's only because he hasn't been there. Because there was like 1 or 2 weeks where he just was not in KSL. He wasn't able to compete. This is the first time this year that Hero signed up and did not win the tournament. So big win here for Classic as he is able to, I think, even win his first KSL of the year. Hold on. We'll have to double check that. Let's see here. So 2025. Yep, there we go. This is the very first time that Classic has, the first time that Hero hasn't won a KSL that he signed up for, and the first time that Classic has won a Korean StarCraft League in 2025. So congratulations here to Classic, big win, and this coincides with his, of course, recent win in GSL and his recent form. So GG well played to Classic. That leads us into the Dragon Cup number 7. I believe this is a bit of a newer event. I don't think we've been covering this previously, so my apologies here as it has been under our radar. So I do apologize for not being able to catch this.
I am not sure if it was on Wikipedia previously, because this is the first time I saw it pop up on the list.
Okay. So we have the Dragon Cup, which is organized by Hofmeister. Okay, so Hofmeister does organize this. I'm curious if this is casted anywhere, just because there's no link to a Twitch channel. Curious. But what I find interesting here, best of ones. It's double elimination, purely best of ones until the finals, which is a crazy format, by the way. Maybe that's why there's no stream, because this tournament ends quick. I can see this bracket concluding like in an hour. Maybe like an hour and a half sort of thing. No, like yeah, this can finish in an hour. Jesus. Because I'm thinking like 15 minutes, 15, 30, like, yeah, I can see this wrapping up real fast and real quick. Mixu takes down Hydra 1-0, Nickrak takes down Mixu, Nickrak takes down Mute, and Nickrak 2-0s Mute in the grand finals. Big win here for Nickrak, congratulations, and again, a crazy format that I have not seen before. Pure best of ones and a best of 3 finals. Yo, we want to get through this quick. We want to... So, crazy tournament format, and best of luck to Hofmeister, and I look forward to seeing more Dragon Cups in the future. That leads us into the Wardy TV Monday number 43, and we spoke earlier about Raynor's matchup, about Raynor versus ByuN, how Raynor did 2-0 ByuN with this Ling into Ultra style. Bam! We then have the rematch. This was 2 days later. 2 days later in Woody TV Monday, we have ByuN. ByuN, he just took down all the foreigners, all the big ones. He took down Clem 2-1. There was a big win there for ByuN. ByuN, he was able to be hyper aggressive and able to pull Clem apart. He was very active in that TVP, and he was, just a little bit too much for Clem to handle. In the end, ByuN does take it, and ByuN takes down Raynor 2-1. And I will say that throughout the course of the series, ByuN did a great job at adapting to this style. And I would say that Raynor, he committed to it every game, basically. He adjusted a little bit, but as I mentioned, Raynor, he was going Zergling, skipping or delaying Baneling production, going into Infestors, going into Hive, going into Ultras. Because of the greed of this build, and because there is quite a big window where you are vulnerable, ByuN, after getting caught out in game 1, he punished it real hard. We saw some much earlier timing attacks. We saw early eBay into early 1-1 and early 2-2 timings in game number 2, where he was able to break Raynor. And in game 3, we saw once again an earlier stim push as well. And both times he was able to break Raynor just before we could really get things going in game 2 and game 3. Game 1, Raynor got to do whatever he wanted. Like, ByuN was a little bit more passive. He was feeling at Raynor, and Raynor got to embrace his build. In game 2 and game 3, I feel like these were good examples of the weakness of that build, of that style, and ByuN was able to abuse that. And ByuN did shut Raynor down. I would imagine that Raynor, again, I would imagine he's kind of like playing around with that build, and he's trying to work out the ins and outs of it to be able to incorporate and mix into a series. Here, he did it every game, and ByuN did kind of solve the problem that was Raynor there. GG. GG will play that led into the semifinals. Shin had a very different approach. Shin, he had a very different approach, at times being a little bit more roach heavy, at times being more in the face of ByuN, and Shin, he was able to take the win here over ByuN 2-1, also into the ace match, but again, a very different kind of ZVT completely compared to the one against Raynor. And meanwhile, Classic, he was on a tear. Classic, 2-0s Percival, 2-1 Solar, 2-1s Max, and Classic claims the win over Shin 3-1. Now, a couple of things here to bear in mind. One, big win for Classic, winning KSL and Wardy TV Monday this week. Really strong performances by Classic. Classic is very much so in form. Another thing that we mentioned earlier in this broadcast, no Hero. Hero, he was not a part of this tournament. He did not sign up. As you mentioned, Hero, he has been playing in less tournaments as of late because he has been intentionally hiding builds and hiding his strategies. So again, a lot less Hero as of late. Intentionally so because of Esports World Cup right around the corner. So less Hero. That's why we don't see Hero winning these weeklies over the past couple of weeks, because he just hasn't been playing or hasn't been competing and taking part in these weeklies. That leads us into the Sparkling Tuna Cup. Sparkling Tuna Cup number 96. Now, this was a very special edition of the Sparkling Tuna Cup, just because this was not on Sunday. This was on Tuesday. This was last night. The reason why we rescheduled was because of the Fusion Esports League qualifiers. We'll get into it. We'll get into the Fusion Esports League qualifiers towards the end of the broadcast. We will get there, but yes, the Tuning Cup was on Tuesday instead, because that we did have some different kind of signups here. For the first time, Uthermal, he did take part. He did compete in our tournament. Great to see Ubu Thermal, of course, once again. Or for the first time, once again in our tournaments, just because he played in the Turtle Tussle back in the day. But for the first time in Tuning Cup as well. So much love to you, Thermal. As we did have Showtime as the number 1 seed. Showtime, who was the heavy hitter here. Usually, Showtime, he comes in second place. Usually, he gets knocked down by ByuN. ByuN is usually the kryptonite to Showtime in the Tuning Cup. But this week, there was no ByuN. This week, there was no ByuN. So Showtime, he went on a tear. He didn't drop a single map in the entire tournament. He 2-0'd Rebellion, he 2-0'd Young Yakov, and he took down Percival 3-0. Dominant performance here by Showtime. Shout out to Mixu. Mixu was able to take down Uthermal. Percival took down Mixu, but again, Percival had a really rough time. I mean, I say really rough time. He did have a back and forth against Showtime. He had some really intense games. So I don't want to take away from that. I do recommend the finals. Like, it was a really good showing out of Percival, but Showtime was just able to get the better of him in each game. In each game, he was able to get a read, scout the all-ins, and shut them down. But again, really intense games nonetheless. There were even some games where, I want to say it was game 2 even, game 2, where Percival, he almost broke Showtime. He almost broke through, he was in a good position, but he barely didn't have enough. Yeah, the game on Pylon was very clutch between Showtime and Percival. I do recommend it. Do recommend it. With that, GG, well played. GG, well played. The other thing that I should mention and that I do want to bring to attention as well is caught Jaime, caught Jamie here in round 1. So there is a player that was banned from a bunch of tournaments, from our tournaments, from a bunch of other tournaments. Sometimes we see some people asking about him. Status. Status is a Protoss player from Greece. He is a known map hacker, and he has map hacked during tournaments as well. So broadly, he has been banned from a bunch of tournaments, including the Pigasaur Cups as well. Pigasaur Cups are tournaments, 2v2 tournaments as well. Those are the ones that come to mind. And because of that, I mean, he has a certain personality to him. He actually has been known to create alternate accounts to try to bypass the ban to still play in some tournaments. A couple of alternate accounts have already been found and have already been confirmed. And it looks like COD Jamie is the latest one. Here, where he has been basically competing under an alias, trying to bypass the ban. Of course, thankfully, we were able to find that, of course, not before he competed against Uthermal. I know that Uthermal was really upset at the time just because of who he was playing against, and we were trying to piece together who exactly it was. But yes, it is confirmed that that is Status. And unfortunately, again, he is the kind of player who is actively making a bunch of accounts, who's actively trying to compete and trying to take part in these tournaments, and kind of making the experience worse for the other players involved as well. So it is really unfortunate, but I do want to make, this has already been made public. Do just want to bring this up as well. It's something, of course, that we don't advocate for, and that we do our best to try to stem as well. It's something that we haven't really experienced too often when it comes to the pro scene. Like, I don't think we've had many players actively map hack in tournaments and have that kind of dynamic with the rest of the pro scene in the past. I'm sure maybe before we were running tournaments, maybe that was something that had occurred, of course, but yeah, it's a bit of a shame. There's something that we have to be more active for, we have to look out for, and have to make sure that our tournaments maintain as much integrity, of course, that we can have for them as well. So just bringing that to people's attention. And we'll do our best. We'll do our best to make sure that we're able to stop that from getting out of hand, and stop players from trying to again ruin the experience for others. He also played and won an American-only tournament on 4th of July on that account. Yes, I did see that as well. He, I believe there was an NA tournament that I think Patches was running, or Patches was involved with, and yeah, he randomly showed up for it and randomly won it as well. So, I mean, that's another thing, right? He's like taking earnings from other players by pretending to be that he's from a region that he's really not from, right? So yeah, it is something that we're trying to keep an eye out for, and we'll do our best to do what we can. Yeah, it's a shame that he is ruining it for others. It's a shame. But regardless, congratulations to Showtime. Congratulations for claiming the win, and for advancing on and becoming, for the first time, I should also emphasize as well, right, that Showtime, he had gotten second place twice in the Tuning Cup. This is the first time that he claims a win. So congratulations here to Showtime. I'm sure he'll move on to greater things, as he's also, of course, getting ready for Esports World Cup as well. So much love, and big shout out there to Showtime. That leads us into this morning's broadcast of the Pigasaur Cup number 39, where we had ByuN. We were, again, talking about ByuN earlier in regards to the World TV Monday, in regards to KSL, in regards to some of these other tournaments, in regards to OSC King of the Hill, and here he goes on a tear once again. Takes down, not an easy run either, takes down SOS 2-0, takes down Solar 3-1, and takes down Estrella in the grand finals. I would say the finals was not close. Like, the finals was, I would say ByuN, he was all over Estrella. We've been giving a lot of praise to Estrella's late game. His mid to late game is some of the best in the world in PvT. He was looking like an animal against Ryung, against Gumiho, against Clem. This was what, last week, the week before that. Estrella's PvT is crazy, and this finals ended in like half an hour. ByuN, these were fast games. These are really fast games. ByuN was hyper aggressive. He was going for try-prone aggression, drop play, Widowmine drops, Raven harass, Banshee play as well, just hitting the third base, hitting the main base, and he was pulling Astray apart, crippling Astray early on, and then coming in for the kill. So just a really, really aggressive style here out of ByuN. We actually saw it against Clem. True, we saw him do the same thing against Clem in the Wardy TV Monday as well. And with that, ByuN, he was able to stop Estrella from getting to what he does best, right? From getting out of hand and from getting into the mid game in a comfortable position. This is something that we saw out of Estrella against Gumiho. Like, again, Estrella, he did really well. I don't want to take away from that. Estrella, he 2-0'd Gumiho and he 3-2'd Max. Like, Estrella had a really good performance here. But again, Gumiho had a different approach. Gumiho, I would say, had a bit of a slower approach against Estrella. He had less momentum against Estrella, and Estrella was able to get more comfortable against Gumiho, was able to slow the game down. Against Max, Estrella, he has been having a winning record against Max as of late. Max, he's been having a bit of a harder time acclimating to the most recent patch. I would say that Max, he's been a little bit stubborn. He's been doing the same thing, of course. Everyone knows, right? It's like Gate, Cyber, expand into Stargate, or Gate, Cyber, Stargate, expand. Like, he does variations of very greedy builds. And in the recent meta, for those that haven't been watching, we have seen his opponents do the same, right? We've seen a lot of greedy and economic builds or one base all-ins. I would say that currently in the PvP, there's a lot more variety when it comes to what players are embracing, what the Koreans are embracing, what Astray is embracing. We've seen a lot of play from Hero, Classic, and Estrella, and many others, either out-greeding Max or coming to all-ins, and Max has had a harder time kind of getting a read on what exactly is going on. And even in Phoenix Wars as well, Astray, he was able to out-Phoenix War Max in that series. Hero's done the same, Classic's done the same. Max has been having a bit of a harder time in PvP. And again, it does feel like partly just because he has refused to kind of like adjust and refused to kind of adjust his play and adjust his style, and he's been struggling a little bit more over the past couple of months as a result. But again, when it comes to the other matchups, I still feel like he's looking quite strong, quite powerful. It's just PvP that's become a bit of an issue for Max, and we'll see if he will adapt. We'll see if he does adjust. We'll see if he does start to mix in 2 gate openers, or if he commits to the more economic style that we kind of know from Max that he's been so accustomed to for years at this point. I think that's the other problem, is that like when you play the same way for years on end, you don't want, like at this point, you don't want to switch, you don't want to change, you don't want to adjust. It's been working for so long. Why do so now? So yeah, we'll see what happens with his PvP. As again, it's I would say that for a long time he had the best PvP in the world. Nowadays has been looking a little bit more shaky amongst the other pros. But with that, congratulations to ByuN. Congratulations to ByuN with that 3-0 over Estrella. Again, a really impressive showing against Estrella. Really impressive play. I wonder what happens with Young Yako versus Creator. True. Unfortunately, we weren't able to cover that series. We were covering the Estrella matches at the time, just because I did want to tune into Estrella versus Gumiho to see how that would unfold. But yes, I kind of glossed over it. But Young Yakov, he did take down Creator 2-1. So big win there for Yakov. Big win. As that leads us into the RSL, the Revival StarCraft League Season 1. The playoffs did begin, of course. They did begin a couple of days ago, or last week, I should say. The quarterfinals has been underway. We have Classic. Hey, we've been giving a lot of praise to ByuN, but also Classic. Remember, this week he won KSL and he won the Wardy TV Monday as well. So Classic, he does go back and forth against ByuN, does claim the win 3-2. Classic takes down Clem 3-1 as well. Big win there for Classic, bearing in mind that Clem is in South Korea, by the way. Clem, he is in Korea, so ping is not a factor there, which benefits Classic as well. Yeah, Classic, he no longer has to play on the US servers, he can play on 0 ping, and here Classic, he pulls off. Impressive showing there from Classic. Clem took down Sham 3-0, Classic takes down Clem, Classic advancing on to the upper bracket finals. Meanwhile, Shin, oh my god, Shin popping off against Hero. Very impressive play here. I mentioned earlier that Hero's been playing in less weeklies. He is playing in this RSL, but I would say he has underperformed here. I am somewhat curious, though, if he is unwilling to play at his best. I know that Lambo's been discussing this. I know Lambo's quite vocal about this, where he feels really pressured whenever he plays in online tournaments to play suboptimally. Like, it's kind of this weird dynamic where Lambo, he talks about how He knows that he knows how opponents is going to play. He knows that like a build can work really well in a certain instance, but he doesn't want to show it off because he wants to save it and he wants to preserve it for a big offline event, right? Like that's what Lambert wants to save it for here. I'm curious if there's something similar going on with Hero. To be fair, I didn't see the game, so I'm not too familiar with what happened specifically between Hero and Shin and Hero and Raynor. That is merely only speculation. Outside of seeing the games themselves, it's hard to really say for certain. But regardless, congratulations to Shin as he does claim the win there, 3-1. Likewise, Cure takes down Raynor 3-1, and Cure takes down Shin as well. So really strong results there in TVZ. Again, Cure's been looking like a beast in the Terran versus Zerg matchup, taking down Raynor, taking down Shin, up against Classic in the upper bracket finals. Let's go. I will say that Cure's TVP has been looking a little bit more shaky as of late, so I'll be honest, I do favor Classic coming into that. I mean, hey, Classic purely off of PvT takes down ByuN, takes down Clem, now he's up against Cure as well. Things are looking up there for Classic. We'll see if Cure can stop him. Scrolling down to the lower bracket, we have ByuN. ByuN eliminates Cham, Raynor eliminates Hero, and we have Shin, ByuN, Clem, and Raynor facing off in the lower brackets. They, of course, can still have a deep run to make it to those finals. Best of luck. Now, I don't know if Kura has any insight as to this, but I know that they spoke, RSL, the Rival StarCraft League, I know they spoke about having like an offline... Oh, no, I guess it works. I was going to say they spoke about having like an offline finals and what that would entail, but everyone that's left in the tournament is already in Korea, so it works out. like Classic, Cure, Shin, ByuN, Clem, Raynor, they're all in Korea right now, so they do have the setup. They don't have to worry about flights. They don't have to worry about getting Cham over. Cham, he's the only player not in Korea that was in the top 8. So quite fortunate there that Cham, he doesn't make a deeper run. They don't have to worry about Cham's flights. So yeah, they can pull off that kind of like in studio setup and that in studio final day. I hope they're able to. And I wish them the best when it comes to their production and when it comes to how they bring everything together. Again, the lower bracket quarterfinals is going to be tomorrow. It's going to be played out tomorrow. So best of luck. I look forward to seeing their setup. Look forward to it. I know that they already showed off the image of Raynor casting and being at the studio itself. As we mentioned, again, like they're all in Korea, so there's a lot of content they can make together, and I hope they take advantage of it. Like I hope they bring on the players and have some interviews and have some fun with it. Maybe make a little bit of content. Like if you have all the players there, if you're running your own tournament, take advantage of it. I hope they're able to. Hope they are able to, so best of luck. That leads us into the Wardy TV European League 2025, where, Jesus, we had a massive Swiss bracket. Oh my god, I was like, what is this format? What is happening? How many players are involved? It's a lot of players, Pappy, it's a lot of players. So yes, we have 24 players in total, and they are working through a massive Swiss group format here. There's kind of a lot of matches to get into. Quickly glossing over it, of course, we have a massive lineup of players. We have Goblin, Hearthstone, Hydra, Max Pax, Sebestis, Jumi, Christiana, Mana, Shameless, Showtime, Skillus, Art, Geralt, and Night Phoenix from Protoss. From Terran, we have Babe Marine, Euthermal, ByuN, Gabe, Nickrect, and Percival. And from Zerg, we have Fiant, Scarlet, Mixu, and Young Yakov. Unfortunately, it looks like the invites and the Zerg and Terran representation is quite limited, is what I will say. We have a very light commitment from any Korean players. We have ByuN and Percival, but no other Koreans. When it comes to the top Europeans, we have Showtime True. He's going to be like the big EU representative, alongside Skillus as well. I guess what I'm getting at, I foresee a lot of PvP. I'm not gonna. I mean, there's already a heavy Protoss representation, but I foresee a lot of PvP even in the playoffs as well. So oh boy, it's going to be intense. When it comes to the main events here, we do see certain players doing well. We have Gabe on top of the rankings here. He 2-0s Hydra, 2-0s Goblin, 2-0s ByuN. Big win there for Gabe. We have Ubu Thermal also in good standings. 2-0s Fian, 2-0s Christiana. Very impressive. Max Pax. Oh, Max Pax is also there. Takes down Babe Marine 2-0. Takes down Mana 2-1. Went to the ace match. Shout out to Mana. We were giving Mana praise earlier. And again, Mana, he does make Max Pax bleed. We have Skillus also undefeated with the win over Mixu, with the win over Percival. We have Hearthstone over Geralt and Shameless. And we have, of course, the rest of the rankings as well, which is a little bit more scattered, a little bit more back and forth. But best of luck. Best of luck to all those competing in the European League. Again, this the group stage is a little bit messy and really intense, and yeah, best of luck. Best of luck. As looks like the group stage continues later on tonight. Will continue later on tonight here. In around 4 hours' time is going to be the conclusion of round 3 of the group stage. Oh boy, it's a lot of games, a lot of matches here. It's a little bit difficult to kind of go into any major predictions. It's going to be top 12. The group is going to be cut in half leave, half will advance through. So a little bit hard to kind of really solidify those predictions. But again, we do see a lot of players excelling. Right, so the favorites are going to be Max, Skillus, and Gabe. I would say Max, Skillus, Gabe, and ByuN are going to be the top 4 that we're going to be keeping our eyes on, and we expect them to do well. When it comes to the other players, we'll see how informed they are. Best of luck. Best of luck to all those others involved, including Euthermal. I should also emphasize Euthermal, I don't know what it is, but he's been competing a little bit more as of late. Euthermal, of course, he signed up for our tournaments. Euthermal, he went to Home Story Cup. Now Euthermal's playing in the European League as well. Like, for a long time, Euthermal, he has not been competing. Like, he doesn't regularly sign up at all for tournaments, but something has changed as of late. I'm curious what it is. Maybe that competitive drive has been like scratched once again, or is itching once again. He wants to scratch it. So maybe he has motivation again. Maybe he's just having fun. Maybe he just wants content for YouTube. It's hard to say. But yeah, for whatever it is, over the past couple of weeks, Euthermal, he's active again. Really, I appreciate it. I do appreciate it. Quickly checking here. Matches for Euthermal. It's because he heard I need new builds. True. But yeah, double checking, he's been very inactive. Just double checking, he's been mainly competing in 2v2. that's been Euthermal's main competitive drive in 2025, has just been 2v2 tournaments and StarCraft Evolution as well. It's like 2v2 and StarCraft Evolution. That's been Euthermal for the past year. Outside of that, the last time he really played in 1v1, Turtle Tussle back in December, Hub Cup #1, and yeah, not much else. Outside of that, Home Story Cup back in 2024. 2024. That was back when he was actually competing in 1v1 a little bit more seriously. Like early 2024, I want to say. So it's been like a year. So great to see the return of Euthermal. Great to see. That leads us into the final event to go over here, the Fusion Esports League Krakow qualifiers. We went over the qualifiers throughout the week, of course, and we now have our qualified, or most of our qualified players. In qualified #1, we have Skillus and SOS. Great to see some Korean representation. Again, we were emphasizing how much support Streamerzone has had for their players, and I feel like this is part of it as well. What I'm getting at is that, remember, the Fusion Esports League Krakow is an offline tournament. It's a big offline tournament, but they are not providing travel support. So if you qualify for the event, you have to pay for that flight and get there yourself, I should say. And we were emphasizing how Streamerzone has been supporting their players, has been paying for their players to travel to DreamHack Dallas. Looks like they're also behind SOS, and of course, Jumi and their other players as well. So SOS, he does qualify. He does go down to Skillus, but he takes down Cristiano 3-0 in the qualifying match. And with that, Skillus and SOS do make it through into that main event. Congratulations, they're going to be a part of that offline finals in Krakow. That leads into qualifying #2, where Mana, he takes down Diego 3-1. And we had a crazy showing here. Diego's another player that has been very inactive as of late, but he takes down Spirit in the upper bracket, and he goes to the ace match against Spirit in the grand final, or in the final match. He almost took him down. That was a very, very tense TBT. Kelzer looking very, very strong in the TBT matchup. Flexing mech, true. There was a lot of mech involved, but I was very impressed by Kelzer's play, and I hope to see him again in the final qualifier as well. Bearing in mind that Kelzer is currently in Europe. He's currently in Europa. In the end, Spirit does claim the win, so we have Mana and Spirit qualifying for the main event as well, and we have some announced invites. We were waiting for this. We do have some confirmation. We spoke about how Euthermal has been active again, and bam, along that narrative, also invited to Krakow. He's invited to the Fusion Esports League, and I love how they memed a little bit with him. They're like, player, cross it out. YouTuber, cross it out. Player once again. Kind of, again, like emphasizing how he has been kind of focusing a lot more on content as of late, but recently has been competing again. So really cool to see the return of Senor Schlappy. The return, Pappy, the return. So really cool to see the content man, the YouTuber himself, going to be taking part in the Fusion Esports League. That also leads us into the next big invite here. That leads us into Clem. Clem, the golden boy, also invited here into the main event. Now, what's impressive about this, we didn't quite know who was going to be invited, because for those that haven't looked at the schedule, the Fusion Esports League Crackout tournament is going to be 2 days after Esports World Cup. Only 2 days after. So we had assumed that a lot of the players that were traveling to the Esports World Cup would want to take a break after that tournament. But Clem, there's no breaks on his train, Pappy. He's going from one right into the other here. We're assuming that he's going to have a deep run and a good performance at EWC. He may even go for it, like a back and forth, back-to-back win. And to go from one tournament straight into the other is crazy dedication. Best of luck to Clem, and hopefully he's not too fatigued after a week of Esports World Cup. So Clem is also going to be there, and we still have more invites to be announced. Winding it back here to the Wikipedia page, we do have 4 global invites. We have 2 confirmed, and we have 2 more to go. We have plenty of Protoss representation. We have plenty of Terran representation. I'm hoping we get a little bit of Zerg here as well. I'm hoping for a little bit of Zerg. And again, because Clem has been invited, this opens the door. Suddenly, do we see a Raynor? Do we see a Cyril? Do we have some of these other big names that are going to be at Esports World Cup that are willing to also travel right after and compete in another big offline event? It is going to be very stamina draining, like it's going to be very fatiguing to go from one to the other, but if Clem is doing it, we might see some of the others do so as well. Do we get some Korean invites? That's another big question here. Do we go for some Korean invites as well? Suddenly there's a lot more available here, a lot more options, and a little more excitement around who gets invited. So really cool to see. Meanwhile, when it comes to the main events, it's going to be 4 global invites, 2 Polish invites. We have players from the qualifiers. There's still 1 open qualifier left, and we have a player seeded from and invited from the Fusion Esports League Crackout 2025 Polish Championship. That's going to be the best player in Poland. But as we mentioned, we already have Spirit from the qualifier. We have Mana from the qualifier. And we still have 2 more Polish invites as well. So depending on who gets invited, the seed, the invited player from the Polish Championship, may actually go down from the champion to either 2nd, 3rd, or 4th place, depending on the rankings, depending on who gets invited and who gets that, on how that tournament goes as well. So it's a little bit more up in the air here. We'll see how that all does unfold. Otherwise, excitement, right? Excitement abounds. And of course, the Polish Championship is going to be this weekend, and we're going to be all over it here on the CranKy Ducklings. Best of luck to all those working behind the scenes. Best of luck to Geralt, of course, for organizing the event and for running it, and potentially even casting. I think some people might be curious if Geralt might be invited to this event. I mean, partly it would make sense just because he's organizing it, but he might take a step back. Like Geralt, during the interview, he spoke about how he was spending a lot of time, you know, whether it's casting, whether it's production side of things as well, organizing the events, running the events. He might take a step back here instead of competing and take a more production role instead. So we'll see.
I mean, Geralt is in the Polish Championship, so he could just win it and qualify himself.
He could just win the entire thing. It's possible. It's possible. He might be forced to play. Yeah, he might not want to. He might be like, yeah, I'll invite all these other guys, and I've got some work to do at the event.
What it is, Geralt is aiming here for the home ground advantage, because this is literally his home city, and he's inviting all these players from all over the world to show them what he's really made of. Like, and then Pi comes out of left field.
Yes, I'm ready. I'm ready for the Pi action as well. But yeah, with that, best of luck to all the players, best of luck to all the competitors as well. And again, this is right around the corner. Remember, this is going to be, the Polish Championship is this weekend, but the main event is going to be after the Esports World Cup. It's an $8,000 tournament, a massive prize pool. Best of luck. Best of luck. Otherwise, that is going to be us wrapping things up. It's going to be us wrapping things up here for the time being. Whew, again, there was kind of a lot to get into. There's still a lot to go over as well that we are kind of pushing back here. I've yet to really dive into the Four Horsemen podcast. I'll be honest, I have been a little bit deterred. I've tried to listen to a little bit of it, and there's been a lot of criticisms levied as well. They brought on Kalaris to talk about StarCraft, but he didn't actually get a lot of speaking time. So there wasn't, it feels like there wasn't a lot of StarCraft, but I guess maybe that's more reason to go into it and to criticize it and to review it as well. So eventually we'll get around to tuning in and to covering the Four Horsemen and the state of StarCraft. Again, they had Kalaris on. It's already been a couple of weeks, but we'll get into it eventually. I do promise. Likewise, we of course have the StarCraft Evolution patch notes to go over as well. I saw someone asking about it in the chat. We will be going over that next week. The reason for this is because a lot of the reverted changes are predicated upon results that occurred and matches that occurred during the Masters event. So we're going to be casting that first, and then we'll have a little bit more to speak on. That will be the plan. Otherwise, with that, if you want to take part in some of these tournaments, if you want to tune in, then ! sign up list. Again, here you can find the events. You can find them listed here, whether it's amateur events, 2v2 events, or open tournaments as well, or even regional tournaments. The signups are all listed there. We have countdown timers as well. So if you want to take part, even if you're not a pro player, even if you're an amateur player, signups are available. You can take part. Best of luck. Best of luck in the chat with those links. Meanwhile, if you want to support us here on the CranKy Ducklings, then Patreon is the place to be. ! Patreon in the chat. Patreon is designed to fund our tournaments like Master Swan Open, Sea Duckling Open, and Sparkling Tuna Cup as well. All of our tournaments are funded via Patreon. You can help us grow our tournaments via Patreon as well. So thank you so much to all of our patrons. Thank you so much to all of our supporters as well. We do appreciate it so much. It's thanks to you that we're able to run our tournaments on a regular basis, and it's thanks to you that we're able to pay out top 4. Like top 4, that we have not always had that for Sparkling Tuna Cup. We can actually, support the players and support the scene that much more thanks to the support on Patreon. Thank you so much for all the support, and with that, we are wrapping up. With that, we are wrapping up here for the evening, and we'll be back next week with some more podcasts. If you're curious about our next broadcast here on the CranKy Ducklings, having a look at our schedule here, our next cast is going to be, hey, we just spoke about it, the StarCraft Evolution Masters broadcast. That is going to be in 12 hours time. Again, that is going to be the PTR tournament that is going to be showcasing the latest changes to StarCraft Evolution. So we have a lot to get into. That is going to be day 1 tomorrow, and day 2 is going to be on Friday. So 2 days of StarCraft Evolution League Masters of PTR content. So look forward to that. Otherwise, thanks for watching. Thanks for the support. Shout out to Kuro as well for producing the event, producing the show, producing the podcast, to make sure that everything runs as smoothly as possible, and for, of course, putting together the topic list as well. If there's something that we missed, if there's something that you want us to talk about and discuss that is StarCraft related, then do let us know, and we will add it to next week's show. Otherwise, thanks for watching. We'll see you next time. Until then, ciao, papi, ciao. Hasta luego.